My journey as a photographer started mainly because I grew up in a studio. My father had a studio, and my father used to take portraits, and we used to watch him. We live in the balcony of the studio and see him uh, take these portraits. Just to take two plates, he may spend 15 minutes adjusting the subject, adjusting the light, second light, background light. And so he got a little perception of how light was important in photography. And then is adjusting the expression and capturing it only on two plates. And then after that, he would spend time on retouching the negatives to take the things. Nowadays, you can do it in Photoshop, but those days it was all done by hand. And even when the prints came out from the darkroom, they were always had touching spots. Then, in fact, there was no color photography those years. He used to hand color those portraits, and those big portraits used to hang in the studio all over. And so we were used to seeing the portraits, and then customers would come. Even at the age of 5, I could sit on the uh, desk and attend customers. But then at that moment of time, my main interest was the business of photography, that I could do the business the way my father did. And we had a small Brownie reflex camera to run around in the corridors and try out in the darkroom what would come out, develop the role yourself, make a print. And but my real journey in professional photography started when I first joined SPAN in their lab, USIS in their lab to supervise the lab work. And that's where my learning started. And luckily, because of the visit of Eisenhower in 1958, I was having to select pictures, make multiple prints. The American in charge publications officer saw my work, and they were planning to start a magazine. So I became photo editor of a magazine called SPAN. I had no plan to stay there that long, but it just happened that I spent 37 years as photo editor of the magazine and 40 years with USIS. And by that time, I traveled all over the country, not only covering their projects, but doing a lot of other personal industrial photography. In fact, in Delhi, there weren't any advertising photographers. There were only one or two. And people would call me to do fashion. People would call me to do advertising work. Although most of it was done in Bombay, but still, we got some opportunity to photograph a Miss India here or that over there. But dance and music started by sheer chance. A cousin of mine, who was a member of what was called Gandhar Mahavidyalaya and Vishnu Digambar Jayanti annual festival. So he said, "Come, why don't you watch this festival?" And we went to the festival, and that time we were trying. Up till then, flash on the camera was the photography. Initially it was bulbs, each flash bulb had to be thrown out, then electronic flash, and then the mood came that even abroad there was this available light photography. So we tried to push Tri-X to 1200 ISO and use them in a developer called AccuFine. And so that was the mood that established my mood to capture the mood of a performing artist, mood of a singer. And Sapru House was the only auditorium at that time where such things happened. And so I stood at the stage for 4 days, 4 hours, 5 hours an evening, and captured mood on 4 rolls of film. Those 4 rolls are still with me, and they're some of my best music pictures. One, black and white is better mood for music. Two, the lighting on the stage captures mood, not flash. And so that somehow, since it was so liked, I made an album, gave it to the organizers, and since the Gandharv Mahavidyalaya also had dance sections there, and Madhavi Mudgal was coming up as a Kathak Odissi dancer. So I photographed her. So one of my pictures of Madhavi and Durgalal was made into a poster by ITDC, sent all over the world. So you got publicity, you got a little name, and ultimately what counts is when people see your work and appreciate it, you want to do better and better. Dance is a natural visual form. With music, there are mics in front. You have to find an opening between the mics to get a mood and wait for some gesture or the musicians to open his eyes and create an expression of involvement. So Kumar Gandharv, Bhimsen Joshi, Pandit Ravi Shankar, all these people, one saw and captured that mood. Dance, from capturing on the concert stage, also started shooting in my home, converting it into a studio. The very first audiovisual I made was on Madhavi Mudgal, and the attempt was to show the eye expressions, the mood of the gestures and hand mudras, which I thought people in the fifth row onward don't even get to see. They're too far away to see those expressions. And so we made a little shot right here in this home with sun guns. Those days I didn't have any strobe lights. And that was very well appreciated by people. It was shown as a part of an item. You start the Mangalacharan, you do the second item, and then this was almost the last item, before the last item. And then the parda went up. Now this was done with slides and audiovisual, dissolved units. And on the music track that Madhavi provided for this particular number, Chandan Charchit Neel Kalevar. Now it's an Ashtapadi which is now performed by all the other dance forms, Mohiniyattam, Bharatnatyam, and so on. So, in fact, it's got so in my mind that I can recognize it when I go and being done by other people also, you see. So, then came along another project with Leela Sampson. She was commissioned by Rowley Books to produce a book on dance, and with the title of Rhythm in Joy, that's there. And that was my first book published abroad, which came out well, designed by Gopi Gajwani, well designed. And so you have a good design, and then finally a picture that will make a cover worked very well for it. So that there are things that I believe you do your best, and most of the time things will work out. And that's what, even today when I shoot, you hope for the best. The light man may be playing around with the lights, and sometimes it's too dark, sometimes too bright, but yet you manage. Now, gradually from film to digital took about 12 years ago I shifted to digital. My son was using digital, who's a panoramic photographer, in joining things. No, his way of looking at things is very different. He doesn't do much dance, he does only one or twice. Now my brother has a studio and he does dance photography there in South X. So what has happened is that the family grows in this work in their own perception, in their own way. And even after 50 years of shooting or more, I enjoy using my camera every day, mainly because for me it's a form of meditation. That throughout a concert, with my camera in my hand, I'm throughout looking carefully as to what can be shot, whether the full length figure or the close up or the mudra or what will make the picture. So your attention, mind doesn't run anywhere else except on the stage. Begum Akhtar on Kunmar Gandharv, on his Geet Varsha. So audiovisual making made an additional thing. Apart from that, there have been book projects. After Rhythm and Joy, there was the best book that came was this with Leela Venkatraman, and it came through rather well. And so then Sonal Mansingh was doing a book for Incredible India with what I had shot for that AV was Madhavi Mudgal at Kunarak. And there too again, the story is she didn't get ready for the sunrise in the first night. So we had gone off to Puri. From Puri we came back all the way searching for a site, and then we were back in Kunarak in time for the sunrise, and we got it. So your attempt to get the kind of picture most of the time succeeds. Sometimes it may not. So you keep trying. That's what I, even today when I photograph, it's this keep trying and something will work out. However, each one has its own point of view. The dancer may see something else, the critic may see something else. Like Dr. Kothari, who's the scholar on this dance, his feeling is that no part of the body should be cupped, the full figure should show. And my feeling is that for me, dance should show through the face expressions and mainly through the eyes. If the dancer is just doing these quick poses without that feeling expressed through the eyes, I don't enjoy it and I don't feel like capturing it. I feel like capturing the expressions that will work for me. So each one has a different point of view of what they will see. In fact, at even a picture of somebody you've shot and you think it's a very beautiful picture, and you show along with other pictures where the other person is not there, the person will only love his own picture, not. So the basic thing of seeing is my picture. And if there are 2 or 3 of my pictures, one very good and 2 not so good, they can't tell the difference. They're just looking at my picture. You see, that I experienced once going through an exhibition. There were 2 pictures of Indira Gandhi hung side by side. One was a very nice picture and one was very ordinary. So I stopped somebody. Oh, Indira Gandhi hai. That's Indira Gandhi. And so people try to recognize if it's my picture or do I recognize the person in the picture. Not the light and quality or the mood or the thing about the picture that makes it a picture. Now that whole concept in the thing about picture is my way of looking at what is mood and what is not will be different from anybody else, and particularly if it's that person. So, however, it's given me so much joy to capture mood, and that's what I'm saying, it keeps me alive at this age, clicking almost every day. I can't imagine, otherwise, if I didn't do that, I'll just sort of burnout actually. Way back in 1975, when I was, when I think Kathak Kendra had just shifted to Bhalpur House, where our office used to be. We had shifted out of Bhalpur House. And I looked at him, and then this man in his normal dress, hey, Pitu Maharaj, the famous, I couldn't believe he could be a dancer. And nevertheless, even then, since he was a known dancer, I photographed him in 75. These are some of those pictures shot at that time. And after that, I've probably shot hundreds of pictures of him every time. What established when I went to his second or third concert, that he's so much full of music and dance in his body, in his face, in his expressions, that one forgets he's not a beautiful, handsome man. He is man who's sort of oozing his bhavs, his things, and no matter where, now, even now after 40 years, I can enjoy him getting his total involvement. And that is what ultimately I think is passion all about in arts, whether it's painting or photography or dance or music, that Birju Maharaj has combination. He's got tal, he can play the tabla, he can play the drums, he's got tal in his movements, and he also gets new ideas and expression in his face and eyes. And that's what turns you on to continue watching him, because of his 100% involvement. You see? And there is also other dancers who have similar involvement, like Vijayanti Mala Bali. At this age, you remember her as a great actress at one point of time, but today she's fully into her dance and still dances. In fact, not only Birju Maharaj's involvement fully, whether it's himself or seeing others dance, he, as I said, he oozes music from his body, from his tal, from his movement. And I don't know how many people have noticed his manager, Saraswati Sen, whenever she sits on the wings near the musicians, I half enjoy seeing her because of her eyes fully looking at her guru and admiring what he is doing. Now, that kind of admiration makes not only the guru great, but his disciples great, because they love every aspect of what he does. And that is why no wonder he is today the topmost dancer in Kathak anyway, but he's considered and called for even other dance forms because of involvement. And he tries a few items doing other dance forms also. I think he's taken them abroad, and I've seen some of those items also done as a collaboration with other dance forms. So that's what I'm saying, that he is always trying to do new things, and sometimes explaining things in a very simple way, like counting for children. Like this tal is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that counting, you may or may not like it as a dance technique, but it works to teach students better than one expects, how to make them understand what this tal is all about, you see. And you can do it with the feet. Then, of course, his children episodes uh, is done quite often, where he sits and cries and does. No, children love that. Here is this 75-year-old dancer behaving quite like a child, you see. Now that works for him and works for his audience. I hope he continues doing this, bringing in more. And interestingly, the Kathak crowd up in North is more sold on him. So his programs are always jam-packed. Whenever he performs, people will come. Because not only because of the name, but because of, one of my best pictures is, which I shot years ago as a multiple image with an ordinary camera, was Birju Maharaj and Zakir Hussain. Yes, yes, it is still considered because I've got this tal, Zakir on the side, and the exposure was very different for the two places. But way they have somehow worked out, they've worked out well. So again, me trying to capture that mood, that works. See? Any number of the audience who love raising their cell phone and shoot, what they're getting, I don't know, because. But there are also other cameras who are serious about it. One of them, of course, is my filmmaker, Inni Singh, who loves with his long lens and shoots some of the best moments of a dancer. There are others who keep trying and moving around also. I've changed my philosophy of dance photography, is that I choose a seat which probably give me a fair number of good shots. And I'm able to manage a fairly good number of shots. I may get some better ones from another place. For music, at times I may get up to get an overall shot from another shot for somebody else, for the musicians who also want my pictures, because then I can't get them from that particular seat. But then I only get up after the alap is over, and only for a very short period to get some mood. No, but oftentimes the problem with music is that the musician sings with his eyes closed, eyes down, and you have to wait for his eyes to open. So Drutle is only the chota khayal will allows you to get you something better when you start looking at the tabla wala or the harmonium wala or whoever. You see, dance. The only problem I face nowadays is the light man. They play with lights. In an Abhinay piece, they should keep the light straight. That's throughout, so that one sees the Abhinay piece. Secondly, a lot of the lighting nowadays at times may be top heavy and there's no detail in the eyes. So it's a real problem, serious problem to get the eye expression is what I am personally looking for. I look for eye expressions. I look for the dancer's expression through the face expression and particularly the eyes. In fact, initially sometimes if the dancer is not showing any eye expression, I don't even take my camera out. It only makes me start my camera. Sometimes I feel I should have taken out, but in any case, you have to, if you are not turned on by the dancer, then what's the point of clicking? In any case, what is happening now is with the digital, the trend is to overshoot, and that takes too much of overtime trying to figure out what to keep, what not to keep, what to throw and how to throw and where to throw. And so there is a serious problem about that. Earlier, yes, you had one roll, maximum 2 rolls, and that's it. But today, you can shoot 150, 200, 300 pictures in a concert without feeling the pinch you're shooting that many. Only when you download them, then you begin to see, oh my God. And some of them are quite nice actually, but to keep all of them, what to do with them? The dancers may not have the time to come to see. I am not going to run after them. That is another aspect of it. You see? And since there are other photographers who manage to give it to them, then they also don't need to come.